You're welcome back. It's time for us to take a look at the Nigerian dailies, and I'll be starting with the Nation newspaper. Lagos ushers in iconic projects, and of course, welcomes Mr. President. The whole of the Nation newspaper, the front page has the president, a picture story of the president and the governor of Lagos State, and they're welcoming Mr. President to Lagos State, and they're ushering in iconic projects. And, without much ado, let us talk about some of these projects that were commissioned yesterday. And, some report reaches us that the president was not, present at the opening of, or the commissioning of these projects yesterday. And for me, that is quite disturbing because, Okwemi, let's just put ourselves in this position. You have called a party, right? You have prepared food, drinks, and everything that goes along with a successful
And
party,
your guests did not turn
and
up.
your guests didn't turn up. That's, for me, that's how it sounds, and that's how it feels, and that's what it seems. And there's no, nobody's, well, we haven't read the rest of the papers, but nobody seems to know why Mr. President did not, come for the commissioning of these projects. Having said that, okay, perhaps I should just let you speak first.
Well, even me myself, I was all dressed up yesterday to represent the people of the good people of Kano constituency because they sent me to represent them at the visit of the president. And the entire protocol was fixed. The roads were closed, the security agencies everywhere at every stop, and the publicity was really big for the event. Of course, I went to the venue. That's for the Okwebi Link Bridge commissioning. Everything was presidential. People mobilized. There were buses, people from across the entire local government in Lagos, interest groups, mobilization groups, our party, our faithfuls, even other governors that came in from other states. The governor of Akwa Ibom, the governor of Ondo State, the governor of Bayelsa State, Ogun State, they were all there, just waiting to receive
Mr.
the president. And the
President.
president has been in Lagos since Thursday.
And it's still in Lagos.
Yeah, he hosted the president of Chad in the morning, had a brief stopover in Jos because that wasn't a visit, just a stopover in Jos, and then he was in Lagos that
same
same
day.
Thursday. Commissioned the
Airport.
International Airport in Ogun State. He's been receiving visitors, kings, captains of industries, politicians.
Oh, yes.
Everyone had been,
Trooping
turned
to his house.
his private residence, to a mecca of his sorts. And everyone was expecting yesterday the home state of the president and an official visit. It has to be full of glitz and glamour. And then we saw it yesterday. How come we eventually saw the number 3 citizen, distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, representing the president, commissioning project on behalf of the president? You could see it in the body language of the governor. Let's say the truth. You can't do that much work, put in that much work. Those projects are iconic projects. They are legacy projects of this outgoing administration. I know that Governor Sanwo-Olu are constantly he's been outdoing himself, but I'm not sure we can expect any other major project apart from those ones that are supposed to be commissioned yesterday and today. You could imagine how colorful everything was, and just like you said, you made a feast, for just like when the UK government hosted President Tinubu, and then after the 50th state banquet arrangement,
he doesn't
the
show
president
up.
didn't come out of his hotel, or he decided to go back to Nigeria. It's really disappointing, but again, we just wait for the official, statements, and they'll probably wait again today. There's still other commissions. The Tolu schools in Ajegunle and the 19 mini pitches are also up for commissioning today. If the president pulls up another no showing, then we'll have to expect a statement, because there's no way the president would have left Lagos and wouldn't have known. The president cannot sneak out of Lagos or sneak into Abuja. Would have known. So we want to assume, at least pending when there are other reports, we want to assume that the president is still in Lagos. So why was there a no showing yesterday at the event? I don't want to insinuate anything. I don't want to say that maybe party politics or there are grudges or his health or his security concerns but we just wait for an official statement. And this tells us one thing: the citizens need to be properly informed of things that are happening so that there are no speculations.
So, when you were speaking, I was just waiting for you to land. Because when you said, if he doesn't turn up for today's projects, then we expect a statement. I would have expected a statement
Yesterday.
yesterday. Yesterday to say, oh, the president's not going to show up for
this-
XYZ reasons.
Thank you.
Or immediately after the commissioning of the projects, the president didn't show up. The president didn't show up for XYZ reasons. You don't do that, honestly. I think, and I've always said it, and I always say it because I don't know anybody like that. I never knew who Sanwo-Olu was, governor of Lagos State, with all due respect. I didn't know him. But people said, he had some pedigree and all of that. But I wasn't sure he was going to perform. So I wasn't a fan of his, and I keep saying that live on air. But today I sit down and I doff my heart for him. The man has worked. He has done a lot of work in Lagos State. And I say it and say it again. I was saying to a friend that, I wasn't a fan of this man. But today I cannot but accept and admit that he has worked in Lagos State. And when he does so, look at the Lekki Expressway. Take that, for example. That thing was, for me, like magic. All of that thing was done within about a month or 6 weeks. And the road...
With almost little or no distortion in traffic.
No, there was some, inconvenience, but they actually made alternative routes that one could take, even though it was tough at the time. But I'm saying in a jiffy, everything was done. And the whole stretch is done. Whoever did that, I mean, we must give credit to the governor of Lagos State. And look at that Okpebi Bridge. I haven't been there, but I've been seeing it from a distance, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to go on that bridge today. Today.
I watched. Well, I didn't. With everyone, we knew that the president was not going to come. We just had to go in and put up our report.
And there have been a lot of speculations.
Yeah, when I saw the Senate president commissioning those projects, in fact, the statement that was released for that commissioning was a direct statement of the president. All the media aides to the governor of Lagos State, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu commission. There was not even a reference at any point where the Senate president was going to stand in for the president. It was much later, after the commissioning, that we started seeing other stories. And see,
and that's the point.
When there's that vacuum, there are potentials of filling in with so many other speculations. If you had come out and say, oh, the president will not be commissioning those projects yesterday, the GIS, the Okpebi Link Bridge, that he will be attending to state functions, but he will be available today, nobody's going to speculate anything. Would have a statement to hold on to. I was watching one of the media aides of the president on national TV yesterday, like former minister of sports, Sunday Dare, and he didn't come straight. He said the president was attending to some security issues. That was why I couldn't commission those projects. Listen, yesterday, there was a protest in Abuja by the opposition. The entire squad, let me put it that way,
out.
from Dino to Rabi Musa Kwakwaso to Atiku Abubakar to Peter Obi to Aregbesola. They were all in Abuja yesterday. Meanwhile, the president was in Lagos.
The third, number three man was in Lagos.
The vice president was representing the president in another high-ranking event. So it's almost like the FCT or the seat of power was vacant at that point. So when I heard a no showing from the president, I felt like, listen, maybe this was a political kickback. Like, I cannot be in Lagos. I mean, the financial release soon. I cannot be commissioning in Lagos, especially on the back of the rumored coup just a few months ago, and allow the opposition to be in Abuja. So we thought that maybe the president left for Abuja immediately. But intels are now telling us that there's no official position to that effect. So maybe the president is in Lagos. So if the president is in Lagos, he's been in Lagos since Thursday, rested on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday was the commission, which was yesterday. So what happened?
Oh, well, really, if you ask me, then who will I ask? That's what I keep saying when I really don't have an answer. If I'm going to say anything, I'm just going to speculate, just like everybody has been speculating that, the president and the governor have, some
Maybe
sort of,
fallout,
yeah, they had a fallout, they have some grudges and all of that. Maybe that's why the president didn't turn up and so on and so forth. But you see, for me, if that's the case, well, I don't want to believe that the president will do that based on personal grudges, because then he'll just be shooting himself in the foot. You understand? So perhaps something else, that he couldn't help, came up, or what, I don't know, but we expect that some statement should be issued. And then again, another thing I do not agree with that they keep doing, and I keep saying it, that they shouldn't take Nigerians for granted. They're taking Nigerians for granted, because when you give Nigerians the impression that the president is the one making certain statements and the president himself is not there, that's not good enough. That's certainly not good enough. And when journalists sit down and start to demand for explanation, start to demand for reasons, then someone will sit in his house and say he feels like taking a gun and shooting a journalist. Come on. You see, unfortunately, we come to do our jobs. This is what puts food on our tables, unfortunately. But that we need to talk. We need to talk. We need to bring this to the fore. If you're not bringing it, we will bring it. We'll put it on the table for people to analyze. For example, has the governor worked? Yes, he has. He's done a fantastic job. He's done a great job. Look at what Okoyemi just spoke about. The mini pitches.
19 of them.
19 of them. And the
Tolu School.
Tolu School.
So we have, and I've always said it, a system that is ready to function would always function. If you have the right man, calling the shots and taking responsibility. At the Tolu School is such an iconic school. We have a few of them scattered around Lagos. And I've always said it, that if we can replicate what was replicated at that Tolu School, it's more like a remodeling. It's been there before. If you can do it in all the 5 major divisions of Lagos, Epe, Agege, Ikorodu, Ikeja. If they can do it across that, it will take governance closer to the people. 36 blocks of classrooms, 19 pitches, as in world class. I told I was there on Saturday. I saw all of those things, world class. If you can replicate that in the 5 major divisions of Lagos, because that school is going to house, give and take, about 25,000 students and pupils, because there are secondary school blocks, there are primary school blocks also within the same compound. I mean, it's quite impressive for me. But let me pick from one of the things you said. I feel it's unfair on Nigerians, especially we that Nigerians are looking up to give them information, not even have information.
Exactly.
So if you ask me that, why was the president not at the commission yesterday? Because someone had over the years trusted your judgment to give them valid reasons and explanation. And you're like, I don't know. So if the gatekeeper does not know about information, the people receiving the information, how do they go through it? So people are now speculating, maybe there's a fight between the governor and the president and the governor. Maybe there's a this, there's a that. You can't blame the people for speculating. When there's a space, people would always feel whatever they want to feel with it. It could be political, it could be anything. But I think today will be a game changer, like I said. If a no showing popped up again today in Ajegunle, then questions will need to be asked. Real questions we need to be asked.
We're already asking questions, but the answers must be given. At that point, there will be no choice but for them to give us the answers that we expect or what we request.
Absolutely. Let's go through the Punch newspaper.
Yes.
Screaming headlines. Wike backed PDP films over Makinde ADC alliance plans.
Oh my God.
I saw the outgoing Oyo State governor yesterday and in Abuja. He said he came to felicitate with the former Senate President, the leader of the coalition, and that's Senator David Mark. I was very careful. I didn't say the chairman of the coalition. I said the leader of the coalition. And then it was I said, no, the colony came to felicitate, but there was meeting late into the night. So let everybody shake body small. With the rider, or your governor, Atiku Obi, Kwankwaso, and Amechi Mark hold high-stake meetings with a new platform. Okay? More a new platform. Let's go to the top right corner. INEC registers 3.4 million new voters ahead of the 2027 election as World Bank flags a fiscal risk in Nigeria's 4 trillion power bond. Northeast logs nearly 2,000 explosions in 7 years. That's a lot.
A lot.
That's a whole lot. Well, Senate President Governors unveils Lagos mega projects as the Deputy Governor of Lagos, Dr. Bafemi Hamzat, Governor Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, representative of the President, that's the President of the Nigerian Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, the governors, Dr. Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, Senator Dioye Diri of Bayelsa, and Prince Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State, and the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, during the inauguration of the Okpebi Link Bridge yesterday. Well, they also the multi-agency building, that's the Bola Ahmed Tinubu Administrative Complex, and the Lagos State Geographic Information System, the largest, right there in Alausa yesterday. Youth rally Jonathan for presidential bid. That is on page 12 of Punch newspaper as 500 level student dies during a football match. That's an unfortunate one. Still on politics, Bauchi APC splits over governor's defection move. Well, this is quite unfortunate. But again, youth rally Jonathan for 2027 presidential bid. Is there another Jonathan or is the same good
How?
Jonathan?
I don't understand. How? Where is Jonathan anyway?
Well, he's an elder statesman now. And
So
he's probably just doing what other statesmen
I don't
should
understand
do.
exactly how.
You never can tell.
Well,
The
you know, I
PDP
say in Nigeria, anything can happen.
The PDP had zoned the presidential ticket to the south. And as long as I know, I'm not sure if Jonathan had officially resigned from the PDP. He's a governor, a president that contested an election and lost. So before the Electoral Act was amended in 2022, it could still be in that space. But after the amendment, people had questioned if he could have been sworn in 3 times. Remember, he was sworn in to complete the tenure of his late boss. Then he also won the election in 2011.
Yeah.
But questions are like, what if he had won in 2015? Wouldn't they have been sworn in?
Exactly.
But the Electoral Act settles all of that. But I'm asking, who are the people mobilizing and doing rally for Jonathan?
But you know this is Nigeria.
What did he forget in Aso Rock?
You know this is Nigeria. Anything can happen in Nigeria.
Let's look at the Tribune, by the way.
Okay, so it's time for us to look at the Nigerian Tribune. Why Tinubu didn't attend project commissioning in Lagos presidency. Lagos has raised bar in quality project delivery, and that's coming from the president. That is coming from the president who did not attend the commissioning of the project. You know, when you were reading, you know, the
Punch.
The Punch newspaper, and you were analyzing the people in the picture story, you know, you said Dapo Abiodun was there.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, oh, thank God he's there.
So that he can see what his mates are doing.
He can learn. He can see, you know, what good people
Leave Dapo
do to
Abiodun
for their people. Okay. Pipeline surveillance contract. NASS, National Assembly Committee's past vote of confidence in what is this?
Tantita, that's the company.
Tantita, NNPCL, and others. The banner headline for the Nigerian Tribune, ADC Turaki-led PDP meets and explore 2027 options. The rider is, we paid solidarity visit to ADC PDP group. ADC PDP group.
What happened to them that are paying solidarity visit?
I don't know. Nigeria must commit to clean democratic space. Makinde. Atiku Obi Kwakwanso Makinde Wabara. Ghana, others attend meeting. You know, I'm looking at these elections next, because as of yesterday, I was thinking to myself that the APC does not have any rival really. But the way things are going, they may have a strong force to reckon with, if you ask me. And then, Okwemi, did you ever really look at the court ruling? You know, which INEC is supposed to be acting upon? What was said in that ruling?
Okay, so two things. Let me first talk about the opposition and then the APC that you raised.
Okay.
You know, when I saw the picture of the solidarity visit yesterday, in quote, solidarity visit, one thing struck my mind. I looked at the list of the people that are doing that solidarity visit. Adolphus Wabara was a former president of the Nigerian Senate. Professor Jerry Ghana had been in politics maybe before they gave birth to me.
Yes.
Sheima Kinde is been in politics, give and take 8 years, well, as a governor, but he also contested prior and he lost. Kwankwaso was a senator, a governor, a minister of defense. In fact, the only minister of defense we've had in this country that does not have a military background under Obasanjo. Okay. Atiku Abubakar has been contesting. Maybe a lot of people mistake Atiku Abubakar as a political neophyte. Atiku Abubakar has been in the game for almost 40 years. A lot of people forget that Atiku Abubakar contested in the JOS primaries that brought up the late Moshood Kashima Wolawale Abiola in 1991. The JOS convention. Atiku Abubakar was, in fact, there were rumors, according to what we read and conversations, that he actually won, the convention, the primaries at the convention. He's been there, Adamawa State, vice president, AC presidential aspirant, PDP presidential aspirant and candidate, PDP presidential candidate in 2019, PDP presidential candidate in 2023. He's been there. Atiku Abubakar is 79, by the way. And then you ask yourself, all of these people that wants to rescue Nigeria, Senator David Mark still remains the longest serving Senate president in the history of our democracy. He was in the Senate for 20 years. And I remember there was a time I was going to Anambra. I was going to Anambra from Jos and went by road. So we had to pass Otukpo before we got to Otukpa. Then we did the linking. And I'm not going to lie to you. The road leading into the village, in short, they told us then that the Senate President, David Mark, doesn't come to his town by road. He flies shopper into his town. And you were in the Senate for 20 years. The Senate leader said, even when you lost the Senate presidency, you still remain in the Senate as a Senate leader. But out of nowhere, you suddenly want to come and rescue Nigeria. Rotimi Amechi was a speaker for 8 years. In fact, at the time he was a speaker of the House of Assembly, he was still pursuing his law degree in London. You were speaker for 8 years, governor for 8 years, one of the top ranking ministers for almost 8 years under the last administration. And these are the people that wants to come and rescue Nigeria. Rescue Nigeria from who? Rauf Aregbesola was commissioner for works in Lagos, governor of Osun State for 8 years, minister of interior for 4 years or thereabouts. So I'm asking all of these people, and now see, what I'm about to say may not be popular, but whatever it was, you cannot hate the APC and think that the ADC is the solution. I think we need to start understanding that we need a new breed of politicians that will take the game and change it.
But don't forget also that you have a Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a president, and you have a Sheyi Tinubu, the speculations that he's going to be whether the deputy governor or the governor of Lagos. You see, it's recycling. That's what I'm saying. So for me, it's not new, and it's not news. Isn't that what happens in Nigeria often and again?
I want to ask you, if the coalition takes over government in 2027, in what capacity will Rotimi Amechi function? In what capacity will Rauf Aregbesola function? In what capacity would Malam Bolaji Abdullahi function?
Atiku.
Would they be cabinet members? Have they not been a part of the system for so long enough that they have no business being within the corridors of power again?
But you don't tell that to a Nigerian, a typical Nigerian politician.
Unfortunately,
you don't tell that to them because they never know where to draw the line. And nothing will happen. They will come back and they will form government. They will form the government and nothing will happen. This is Nigeria. And listen to me, just in case you forgot, welcome. Welcome to Nigeria. You know, when you're in Nigeria, you know that anything can happen. We're like, actresses and actors on a stage. You never know what the next scene or the next episode would be like. But that's Nigeria for you. It's not strange. And unfortunately, I always say, I'm not, call me prim and proper, call me whatever you want to call me. But you see, there's certain things that are not befitting of leaders, especially leaders who are supposed to have made a mark. When people were voting for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they did so because, he had
A track
a
record.
track record. He was proven and tested in Lagos State, and they believed that he would come here and bring a full package, to leading Nigeria. That's why they voted for him. But and I'm not saying it's an easy thing, and he cannot say that he didn't know it would not be easy. Do you understand? He knew it would not be
He
easy.
told us that we shouldn't pity him, that he begged for
I
the
mean,
job.
so really, I don't know what's going on, but we need to get our acts together. We really need to get our acts together. Still on the Nigerian Tribune, ADC leaders protest at INEC headquarters, ask commission to withdraw offensive correspondence to party, threaten coordinated civic action. Delta governor approves 200,000 naira monthly tax-free allowance for medical doctors. Well, not bad. That's
That's a
that's
good
that's
one.
an incentive.
Tax-free.
That's an incentive. Tax-free. That's an incentive. And we want people to be thinking in this direction. Um, Federal government's 501 billion naira bond raises strong indicator of market confidence, and that's coming from the GenCos. Uh, well, we hope that with this bond, something is gonna happen.
Well, a friend of mine jokingly said that thank God that the APC or your states probably decided not to give the Minister of Power their tickets. That for the people on Band A, that in the last 2 weeks, it seems power situation had improved. So I don't know what that is, but let's look at the Guardian newspaper. Opposition explores options as ADC PDP questions INEC's neutrality. That is the banner headline with a lot of pictures of the opposition coalition leaders during the Save Nigerian Democracy protest in Abuja. Peter Obi, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, Senator Aminu Tambuwa, former Senate President David Mark. There's also Aregbesola, Atiku Abubakar, and teaming supporters of the ADC. But I mean, this crowd does not move people like us, because if there's a pro INEC protest today, you probably see this same crowd are running and raising banners that they cannot even read what was written on those banners. CSO's youth storm Jeg's office, urges him to contest. Finality of Supreme Court ruling does not translate to infallibility in the public eye. Check the page 7 for that story. 2027, don't give power to APC by boycotting the polls. Wow, that's the SDP 2023 presidential candidate Prince Adebayo telling Nigerians. Nigeria making progress, not on the brink of collapse. That is the federal government assuring Nigerians. NCAA warns of flight delays, cancellation during rainy season. As Godswill Akpabio commissions Lagos project tax state on modern Nigeria. 2 years later, activist community urged military to release Okwama detainees as World Bank multinational poverty. World Bank multidimensional poverty threatening Nigeria's economic potentials. And there's also a picture. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu received the chairman of the Honeywell Group, Dr. Oba Otudeko, at his residence in Ikoyi yesterday. So the president was still receiving visitors.
We
in
said
his Ikoyi
it.
residence yesterday
We
morning.
said it. We said it that he was. So, are you done?
Yeah, we're done with the guidance.
Okay, let's look at the Vanguard newspaper, and there's really just one banner headline, but there's a little story at the top left corner. It says ADC top shots lead protest at INEC headquarters in Abuja. And then, of course, the banner headline, ADC lists 6-point demands at INEC protests. And the rider, Atiku, Obi, Kwakwanso, others lead protests in Abuja. Don't kill democracy. Obi Amechi reject one-party rule. No cause for alarm over ADC crisis. David Mark assures. PDP ADC leaders hold closed-door talks. INEC populated by card-carrying members of APC, Senator Marafa. There's just a cartoon story. It's not relevant, and that's it from the Vanguard newspaper. Can we look at the Daily Sun?
Well, the last of the dailies I'll be checking this morning is Daily Sun. 2027 PDP ADC leaders meet, may forge common funds. I hope it's not too late. The election is in January. World Bank, Nigeria under pressure as debt threatens growth. The banner headline, ADC, Mark Atiku Obi others protest and INEC insists on Amopiton's sack. That is the chairman of INEC. The funny thing is to this story is this. The president reserves the legitimate right to appoint the INEC chairman. So if you remove Professor Josh Amopiton, he's still the same president that will still appoint another chairman. He's still the same Senate that will still screen another chairman. He's still the same president that will still swear in another chairman. So if you are calling for the removal of Professor Josh Amopiton, what is the assurance that the next person that will replace Professor Josh Amopiton will still not, exhibit or maybe give you the same concerns that you are raising? Don't get it wrong. On this show, we're not saying or we're not questioning the integrity of the chairman of INEC. We're just saying that if your coalition are asking that Professor Josh Amopiton be removed, he's the same person that brought Professor Josh Amopiton that will still bring the other person. What is the possibility or probability that the fears that you're expressing now will still not be in the other one? If they say who pays the piper,
dictates the tune.
So there are a lot of things that the opposition need to sit back and ask. As long as the right to choose NHS, and let's even talk about this. Do you find it very interesting that it's just like when you want to play a football match, you are the one that will choose the referee and pay the referee's salary, and then you are playing in your home, you are doing home advantage, you are the one that will pay the salaries of the referees and even choose the referee yourself. I feel there are a lot of things that we should have started focusing on before now.
Yes.
The right of the president to choose the INEC
he should have no hand
at all
in the choice of the INEC chairman.
You know, we have a body in Nigeria that I respect so much. They call them the body of benchers.
Benchers, yes.
I think individuals in that group constitute set of the most brilliant legal minds that we have in this country. Can't those people nominate someone? Can't those people choose someone?
And there are other bodies that he could choose from.
Understand?
There are other, but I really don't understand. I'm not a politician.
I know.
And I can never do politics because it stinks to me. People, it is not just the ADC, members of the ADC that are complaining. The Nigerians generally are complaining. And yes, we know that these so-called opposition parties did not put their acts together. They just saw time go and they were just watching. Because I remember on the breakfast table, I said, immediately after the last elections, I said, it's time for the PDP to go back to the drawing board, sit down and fix their problem and come out stronger and better, rather than going to court.
At the time you said that, they still had like 15 governors.
Exactly.
It's not now that they have 1.5.
Exactly. They were going to court, and I said, what are these people going to court for? The die has been cast. All of this is medicine after that. I was recommending and suggesting that they go back, sit down, fix it, and come back stronger together. But they didn't do that. They didn't get to do that. As a matter of fact,
they fell apart even worse than
they crumbled. They crumbled. And now, they're crying wolf. It's a two-way traffic for me. And again, like we said, I don't think the president should have the right to choose who the INEC chairman should be.
Unfortunately.
And don't forget that happened in the time of Babangida. And that's what brought us to where we are in Nigeria.
It's a constitutional matter. So it's not something that protest can change.
Exactly.
It's something that the constitution would have to be amended, debated and discussed. And the National Assembly will have to take the lead in that. I've always said it. That's one of the things I question the most in a democracy. If the president was not going to be on the ballot, it's a different ballgame. But I'm going to be on the ballot. then I'll choose and pay the salary and fund the body that will conduct my own election. I don't maybe understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm the one I will nominate the chairman of INEC. The Senate that is under my control will screen him. I would also, they will submit their budget to me. I will release budget for them. How? And I'm participating in that election. How do you expect absolute objectivity? See, let's be sincere with ourselves. This is pure political analysis. It's not emotions. It
It's
is
not.
very normal. If you say Professor George Amupiton should resign, the president would also replace
Him.
Professor George Amupiton. So what will happen if you also question the integrity of the next person?
And will you
push
even
for him.
be there when the president and the next person will be speaking?
You won't.
You won't be there. You don't know, you know, the terms of engagement. You don't know. And all of these things, you know, because there's no transparency in Nigeria. There's absolutely no accountability. There's no transparency, well, at the federal level, I think.
That's what I'm saying. That what if you bring up another INEC chairman and you still have this fear? You would also protest that it should be removed.
That's what
Then
I'm
they
saying. So I'm
replace and
agreeing
remove,
with
and
you.
then they replace and remove until the election comes. Well, the opposition is doing their job, strengthening democracy, questioning how the country should never slide into a one-party state. And let's be sincere with ourselves. Up till now, how credible or how valid or viable are the oppositions that we have? It's one thing to have opposition. In 2023 election, we went in with about over 90 political parties. Nothing changed. It is not about having opposition. You have opposition that are clearly playing the roles of opposition.
But it doesn't mean we should have a one-party system.
No,
because,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you. We you know, even if the opposition are not really functional or functioning, it doesn't mean we should now limit Nigerians to a one-party
No,
system.
we have 20 political parties registered in Nigeria as of today. 20
Especially when Nigerians are not particularly happy
with the government.
You have to give Nigerians choices. So anything to make that happen, you know, I think should be considered.
Well, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu prides himself as the beacon of democracy. And whether you like it or not, there have to be free operations of the opposition. They strengthen democracy.
That's it. You know, healthy competition will always. Yes, it makes a lot of sense. But when you're limited to a one-party system, it's so boring. Honestly, it's like people will just walk away. They won't even need to bother.
Well,
and that's not good for our system.
Plateau relaxes curfew in Jos, now dusk to dawn. Remember I said it. That is the same thing. Impose curfew, relax curfew, life will go on, no arrest to be made. The innocent youths that were picked up, the people protested, they released the 3 of them. None of their assailants, none of their attackers have been arrested. It's the same rinse, wash, and wear. Okay. Police raid Enugu criminal hideout, arrest suspect, destroyed drug bunks. Terrorism, 4 convicts bags life imprisonment. I like this one. I really like this one.
That's nice.
Yeah, Dangote refutes fuel price hike as UN-Iran war enters ceasefire. So there's also the picture of the commissioning of the Okwebi Link Bridge by the by the president of the Nigerian Senate. Of course, to his left and right, the chairman of the APC Progressive Governors Forum, His Excellency Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State. There's also the governor of Ogun State, Prince Dapo Abiodun. There is the host governor, Governor Olusola Sanwo-Olu. There's also his deputy. There is also the speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa. There's also the Senator Wasiu Eshinlokun. And of course, a few other people are just celebrating Lagos and showing support to the governor of Lagos State, Governor Sanwo-Olu. I think that's much that we have on the front pages of Nigeria's newspapers.
You know, I was just looking at the picture, and I don't know, I just felt some emotions. I felt, you know, some pity, you know, for Sanwo-Olu. And honestly, I think it's time for us to, you know, just look in the cameras and say, Governor Sanwo-Olu, Governor of Lagos State, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Don't be discouraged under any circumstance. Just keep going. Just keep going, because you have left your footprints in the sand of time.
I watched the commissioning yesterday, and you know, the governor was handling the mic for the president of the Senate to cut the tape. But at some point, the Senate president had to take the mic himself. we're human beings. When you put in so much and you expect that, oh, this is my political father and this is his home state, I expect him to give an absolute showing, to this. See, whether you like it or not, projects like this are benchmarks for a governor to relax and say, even though I wasn't perfect, even though I didn't give Lagos everything they wanted for a cosmopolitan Lagos like this, but at least I made changes.
The blue and red rail. I mean, we can't even just start to.
There's just been some consistency around the administration of.
Look at how we're talking as if we're getting anything from Lagos.
No, I mean,
but we just have to say
and criticize them
constructively.
And when there are reasons for us to tell them how good they
we ring a bell for them. We give them a flower.
The multi-unit administrative complex in Lagos will mean that Lagos will stop paying rent. Most of the ministries in Laos are those buildings that occupy and are owned by individuals, and the government pays millions into the account of those individuals every year. So now that everybody will be on the same space, the monies paid to those owners would actually be used into something that is more, beneficial to the people of Lagos. So these ideas are well thought of, and I'm not going to lie. The body language of the governor yesterday shows that he wasn't really happy. And you would understand why. If the president can go to Ogun State to commission projects,
exactly,
go to Sokoto
and you didn't come to Lagos State. Even if it was just one of the projects.
Lagos.
One of the projects.
You spend almost a week in Lagos.
And I understand that. I understand that he's a human being. He could get tired, perhaps his health, or something. But even if it was just one project, and while commissioning that project, you could seize the opportunity to say, there are a number of projects that Lagos State Governor has put together, which you're supposed to commission. You may not be able to commission all of them, but at least you're commissioning this one. But your words are going ahead of you
to the other
projects, and you will be represented by Mr. Mr. Senate President, or whatever. That would have been the best thing to have done, to make, when a man works, they say the reward of hard work is more work, and this man keeps working, and there's no encouragement, there's no pat on the back there. Oh, come on. Well, as a Lagosian, I'm not happy about it. I wish it could have been done better, and I wish he could attend the commissioning
today. I'm sure it's a father-to-son conversation. They will sort things out.
They will sort it out, but all these things are glamorous things. For the optics.
And because the no-showing of president yesterday kind of took the gloss off the event.
It took the shine.
So a lot of people are not really now talking about the event. They're now talking about the fact that the president did a no-show. And that shouldn't be the case. But Governor Sanwo-Olu, thumbs up.
You've done so well.
I'm sure you still do a little more before you leave. But whether the president attended or not, Lagosians appreciate you, and then we say,
well done, well done.
Yet. And we can still do more.
And we do this. We doff our hats. David, can you? Yeah.
If I
doff my hat for you, that means you earned it. You actually did earn it, honestly, and that's the truth. And I believe that Nigerians will vote for him if he wants to remain in politics.
No.
If he wants to go to the Senate, Nigerians will certainly vote for. Lagosians will certainly vote for him because he's done well. Well done, sir. All right, at this point, we'd like to take a break, and when we return, we'll be looking at our discussion segment. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. It's still the Breakfast Express on MITV+.
No limits.
Welcome to the Africa Magic Viewers' Choice Award.
This isn't a reset.
It's an evolution.
Arsenal at the top of the Premier League table.
We're going to build our paradise here on earth.
Looks up and he makes contact with his old rival.
Moments turn into memories, history into legacy.
Anything can happen.